if you want to know why we are so hated around the world, people don't like to be interfered with. They don't like to be told what to do, especially by a nation of obese, intellectually deficient schmucks. So U.S. says it doesn't support Pakistan-Iran gas pipeline project going forward. So Iran and Pakistan, which has had a lot of tension, they fired missiles into each other's territories just last year. We don't want peace. That's bad news, right? We want to keep them fighting. So the U.S. said on Tuesday it does not support a Pakistan-Iran gas pipeline project from going forward and cautioned about the risk of sanctions in doing business with Tehran. The Pakistan-Iran gas pipeline, known as the Peace Pipeline, is a long-term, see right there, that flagged it right there.
Yeah.
Right there. They should have called it something else. They should have called it Submission to Our Western Masters Pipeline.
Yeah, the divide and conquer pipeline.
Yeah. The real politic pipeline.
The real politic pipeline.
Is a long-term project between Tehran and Islamabad and has faced delays and funding challenges for several years. The pipeline would transport natural gas from Iran to neighboring Pakistan. Iran and Pakistan had signed a 5-year trade plan in August 2023 and set a bilateral trade target at $5 billion. Pakistan's Petroleum Minister Mosaddeq Malik said this week that his country was seeking a U.S. sanctions waiver for the gas pipeline from Iran. A few weeks ago, Pakistan and Iran exchanged tit-for-tat strikes when they exchanged drone and missile strikes on militant bases on each other's territory. Oh, I didn't realize it was that recent. I thought it was last year. Officially, allies in fighting extremism, Pakistan and the U.S. have had a complicated relationship over the years, bound by Washington's dependence on Pakistan to supply its troops during its long war in Afghanistan, but plagued by accusations Islamabad played a double game. Well, that's what you do when you're dealing with this oppressive imperial power, right? That's what you do when you're dealing with an empire. You play a double game. In the end, you'd much rather kick them out, but you know you're forced to deal with them, so you play both sides. India's doing the same thing. They're buying all that Russian oil. Some Pakistani politicians have also accused Washington of meddling in Pakistan's domestic politics, charges that Washington denies. No, we would never. So here's from Global Eye News. United States threatens Pakistan with sanctions if it builds a pipeline to import gas from Iran. Now, remember, this is what's so terrible about this. These are poor countries. These are desperately, desperately poor countries. Pakistan is in worse shape than India. And if you visit India, you're going to see a kind of poverty that, I don't know, we're getting there. There are sections of America that are almost that bad, but not at that level. So you're going to tell a poor country they can't ease their energy costs because it doesn't fit your geostrategic vision. Oh, why do people hate us?
Well, yeah, when your geostrategic vision is, as I mentioned earlier, divide, conquer, right? That involves keeping other countries down, right? Like a country that is not economically developed is a lot easier to keep in line. It's a lot easier to pit them against other countries. Jose Vega would be a great person to talk to about this, because as I understand, a lot of his platform is about peace through development, right? When you let these smaller countries develop and grow into larger countries, and I'm not talking about land area, I'm talking about in terms of their economic base, now they start interacting with each other, which incentivizes peace between them, right? And out of that, you have alliances form that actually have an economic base, and you can perhaps have a more peaceful world. Now, a lot of what we say to justify our opposition to this has to do with Clash of Civilization stuff, as I assume this article gets into, but also the green agenda is part. Well, no, we can't
Right.
develop, right? That's bad for the planet.
Right.
That's bad for the planet. And look, I'm one of these people who thinks that if we don't develop less, the planet will get rid of us. And but at the same time, I don't think the planet getting rid of us is all that tragic. Like, I mean, we may just want to do it until we can't do it anymore, and then we'll go extinct. That happens to every other species.
I mean,
I
it's
don't know why
one way
that's
to
such a
get
big
rid
deal.
of. I mean,
I don't know why that's so scary to people, but it's just so, like, I kind of understand both sides. Like, yes, I think the only way for us to sustain ourselves as a species is to develop less, but maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just get another 1,000 years out of the planet, and then they'll get rid of us, and whatever. Deer will have more space to run around. Deer are nicer than people anyway. Deer are much more noble animals than we are.
I think this is just your roundabout Bond villain way of getting rid of the universities.
It's nice.
Get rid of all the people, no more universities.
There's nothing villainous
right?
about it. Like,
you're
people,
like Dr. Evil.
What's evil? I'm saying we develop, we get along, we treat each other peacefully, we don't have as much war. Eventually the party's going to stop because the planet is not going to be able to sustain it, and when that happens, it'll happen. And then you'll have geese flying around and deer walking around, and that'll be a nice world too. What do we have to be here forever for? I don't understand that. Well, I don't understand how asking that question makes me like a nihilist or a bad person. I get this a lot. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean we can go extinct and that's okay? We're going to go extinct at some point. No species lives forever.
I mean,
right?
But
so if we can develop and achieve peace through development, why not do it? I mean, it's not going to last forever, but nothing does. Like, I don't see what's crazy about that. I think it's crazy to do it this way.
Our reptilian overlords have been around for at least 1 billion years. I'll have you know.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to derail the
possible.
segment, but this comes up every now and then.
No, I am of the opinion that limiting consumption is just not going to happen. So give that up. Forget about it. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to solve it that way. You need to try to invent.
This is a good byproduct of that. You have peaceful relations between countries who develop economically. We can have less war that way. But let's be real. That's not going to last forever. And when it ends, it'll end. And life goes on. Life goes on.
You know what's very funny? For a guy who keeps breeding, you really hate people. Whereas for me, I'm a little more of an optimist. I feel
how many?
We need to invent our way out of it.
You don't think people are going to go extinct at some point? You think we live forever?
I mean, that's beside the point. Like, you're talking about going on into infinity. Of course, the universe is going to collapse. But that aside,
we're going to be here until the sun swallows the earth. That's what you think is going to happen?
I offer no opinion about that. But in terms of the problem at hand, the only way out of climate change is to invent our way out of it. Perfect carbon scrubbing technology, such thing. And I'm not even saying that will work. I'm saying that's the only thing that will. So don't put all this energy into trying to get these countries that have their children starving to not develop so that their children aren't starving. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Forget about that. So if you're going to put all this energy into inventing new technologies, put it into inventing carbon scrubbing technologies that will fix the problem the other way. Don't focus on consumption because it's a losing battle.
I agree. But what the green people will counter that, well, we're going to destroy the planet and ourselves if we go that way. And rather than try and deny that,
well, you're definitely going to do it if you go their way because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. We don't have a world government. You can't force China. You can't force Pakistan. You can't force India to conform, even if you did have a limited consumption regime. They're not going to do it, and for good reason. For good reason. What? We got to develop, and now we're going to slam the door behind us. When you say that to them, they say, "Go fuck yourself," and they're right. You can't blame them. We wouldn't do it.
Right? Of course.
So, well, that was an interesting little segment. You can clip that by itself. I'm just
saying, don't be scared by don't
genocidal
buy into their fear-mongering about how
roots for end of humanity.
It's not. There's nothing of the sort. I'm just saying, don't respond to their fear mongering. You can respond to their fear mongering about the end of humanity by saying, yeah, eventually you'll be proven right, but the alternative is not workable either. And so what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to live in poverty, live in war, live in fear of each other. Like, why don't we be adults and understand that a lot of this green bullshit is an immortality myth, as every civilization has had immortality myths, and that nothing goes on forever. And we have to live our best lives as peacefully and as prosperously as possible until the universe decides our number is up. What is violent about that? What is dark about that? What is divisive about that? I do not understand.
Have you considered motivational speaking?
I don't understand the hostility to that opinion. I really don't.
All
but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right.
I really don't get it.
U.S.
What could be less? What could be more peaceful than that? What
Look,
could be more conciliatory?
I'm not hostile to it, but more of a fighter, I guess.
Right.
I'm more hopeful. I do believe that maybe there's a path out of it. Not long term.
I hope there is.
Physics,
it'd be nice if there was.
collapses.
That'd be nice if there was. Yeah.
U.S. warns of sanctions risk as Pakistan inks deal with Iran. Hey, people getting along, not firing missiles at each other. That's a good thing, huh? Well, not according to Fat Sager. Before we don't interfere, USA hypocrisy. Before we don't interfere in others' matters. Believe us. We didn't ask for IK to be removed from PM's office. Now, the Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline will not be accepted, and we will impose sanctions on Pakistan. All right, let's hear Fat Sagar.
The Iranian president was in Pakistan, and during his visit, Pakistan and Iran signed 8 MOUs and also agreed to push bilateral trade to $10 billion. A Pakistani government spokesperson also said that it does not need a waiver from U.S. sanctions to build its portion of a Pak-Iran gas pipeline. How does the United States view these agreements and statements?
So first, just let me say broadly, we advise anyone considering business deals with Iran to be aware of the potential risk of sanctions. But ultimately, the government of Pakistan can speak to their own foreign policy pursuits.
Sure they can, except they can't. Okay, so the joke of the day on PAC TV. Pakistan threatens U.S. after U.S. threatened Pakistan of sanctions if they go ahead with the Iran gas pipeline project. So basically threatens to nuke us, and they do have nuclear weapons in Pakistan.
अमेरिका पाबंदी लगाए तेरी औकात नहीं तुम क्या हमारे को गैस पाइपलाइन से रोकोगे या मिसाइल बनाने से तुम्हारी हैसियत और औकात नहीं
Saying Pakistan will nuke White House. U.S. is nothing in front of Pakistan.
गैस पाइपलाइन भी बिछाएगा एटमी हथियार भी चलाएगा अगर तुमने चलाए व्हाइट हाउस में घुस के मारेंगे तुम्हें.
Yeah, no, making the United States, making friends wherever we go.
Hey, come see us do a live show in El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, California, May 19th at the Zephyr Theater. That's a panel show with video. Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Ontario, California, Irvine, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.